So we tend to think that our physical bodies are pretty much what's inside our skin, right? That's what we are. We are what's inside that skin. But it gets tricky because, one, we are not airtight. There's a constant flow of things through our skin, our pores, ingesting things, excreting things. At what point is food that we eat, when does it become, at what point of its process of being broken down and fed to the cells and things like that, when does it become us? Is there when it gets broken down? And what about the things that are flowing through us constantly through the cosmos, the quarks and such? And what about the things inside of us in the skin that are separate organisms? What about the microbes? What about the things in our saliva and breaking things down in our body? Is that us? Maybe it's the things that our brain controls. But there's so many things in our body that are that just simply work automatically. I don't have to monitor my spleen and my liver. And yet I think that's me because it's part of my system that keeps me working. Well, then what about the tree outside that's making oxygen? It's part of the system that's keeping me alive. So why do I draw the line here? Alan Watts talks about that we are like a whirlpool in a river. And that as you look at the river, there might be where the rocks form, there's a whirlpool that forms as this one crook of this river. And you could go there every day and you see the whirlpool there. You identify it, you can recognize it. But the whirlpool is simply a framework. It's simply an idea. The contents of the whirlpool is changing constantly. Just as our cells are dying and growing, food is coming in, sweat is coming out, quarks are going through us, oxygen transforming, So what we really are is like a whirlpool, where the lines of our skin is a lot more fuzzy. And so what we think of as us is really a rough density of cells at a certain time. Well, that's kind of silly then, isn't it? I think it's more accurate to just see we simply have sensory awareness of this body. But what we are is a part of the river, in the same way that a whirlpool is a part of the river. And that the boundaries between us and the universe, us and the world, are simply mental. It is a continuum. It is a river. And trying to define what we are as separate from the universe is like trying to capture a whirlpool with a trash bag. It's ridiculous. And as we go through the world, whirlpooling our way through, I think it's a really liberating way to see the universe, see the world, is that we are simply, perceiving sensory stimulus from a certain perspective because the universe has given us the job of somewhat protecting this collection of cells, this community of cells. Not just this community, communities and communities, whether it's a muscle system, a circulatory system, within that is other communities, whether it's one eyeball. I mean, this eye perceives the universe, this one perceives. So why do we think why are these not separate entities? Why do we think only the stereo vision perception is us? It's arbitrary. We have a collection of these systems, and within each of these systems is a collection of molecules, and those molecules are collections of smaller pieces. And we, as a collection of cells, a community of cells, are part of a community of other organisms and cells. And that community, that is a part of a biosphere. And that biosphere is part of a planet. And that planet is part of a solar system. That solar system is part of a galaxy, which is part of a universe. And where do we stop and it begin? There is only one. And we have the insanely valuable, priceless, miraculous gift of being able to have a pinhole prick to perceive it all.